Hi. I know it's been a while. And by a while, I mean a good 5 to 6 months. I think the last time I put out an episode was in November. Yeah, 5-ish months. I know I should have been doing better, be more consistent, but I have a good enough reason. And the reason is that I just wasn't motivated enough. And to make things worse, I sort of started getting this idea that maybe oversharing is the problem. That, if you share too much about your life, about how you feel with the world, it just attracts unnecessary attention, unnecessary energies that you don't want around you. Which is partially true, yes. But then I realized that it differs from person to person. For some people, yes, sharing about their life, like sharing stuff about their life or talking about their feelings, might actually be a task. And of course, like I've seen that with a lot of friends who would just prefer not talking about things unless it's something really, really life changing or something extremely out of the blue is happening. Only then would they decide ki chalo, okay, things have gone way out of hand and I need to sort of call in the big guns and share this with a friend and like talk about this and whatever, get an input. But then I realized that that does not work for everyone. I'm sure for some people that's a way of life. Not sharing everything, keeping to themselves, being private. If that works for you, good for you. But I don't work like that, unfortunately. If I don't share things that are on my mind, I feel like my brain is going to explode. Which is also a very valid concern. Because too much keeps happening around me. And for better or for worse, whether it's on purpose, whether it's, I don't know, just how things are, I get dragged into a lot of things. And I used to complain about this a lot until I realized that I love it. What can I say? I love the drama. I have realized that I am not made for a life of peace as the world defines it. I have my own version, own definition of peace and what it looks like for me. So that's exactly what I've been doing for the past few months. I've been experimenting with what works for me, what doesn't, and let's say 7 to 8 times out of 10, it's not the way that I thought. You see how people function generally in society. You talk to other people, you view certain celebrities or influencers, talk about their own experiences on the internet, and you feel like, oh, maybe this is a good idea, like maybe I should incorporate this in my own life. भाई उनके लिए it might work, मेरे लिए it might not. The only way to know that is to actually give it a shot. It's that simple. And while we're on the subject of deciding what works for you and what doesn't work for you, I realized that oversharing is good for me. I don't take it that seriously. I don't see it as that big of an energetic exchange. It's just me having, a lot on my plate and things just kind of spill out for me to make space for the things that I actually want. Like I'll accumulate a lot of nonsense things. It's like a buffet and I have just one plate. I have all of these nonsense snacks that I thought I would want to eat. They looked interesting, but I no longer feel fascinated by them or I no longer want to eat them. So I'll just kind of toss it out or put it on someone else's plate. And it's no longer my problem because for me, I just wanted to get that space. And in some cases, it's actually a nice bonding process because you don't go and share stuff with just anyone. Most of the times, especially I feel like as a woman, whenever something happens to you, you always have a very specific person in mind who you go to with very specific experiences or for very particular, kind of advice. So in your head that, even while that thing is happening with you, as you are having that experience, in your head, you're just thinking, ki, oh, I can't wait to go home and share it with this friend of mine or this person or like my sister, my cousin, my parents, whatever, whoever that person may be for you. And it can be more than one person, of course. Like it doesn't have to be one singular person, because you can have all kinds of friends, and yeah, you share different things with different people. It's not like a one size fits all kind of a situation. So that's another lesson that I've learned. Not everyone needs to know everything, but it's okay if you tell some things to some people. Now, talking about oversharing as a general habit that I have, that's another reason why I delayed making another podcast episode for the longest time. And it's not just a lack of motivation or a lack of inspiration or a lack of content to talk about. It's also that I was really anxious about talking to a camera, because it's one thing to, have an audio format, but it's a completely different ballgame when you're talking to a camera, when you're recording, looking at yourself, or even if you have a camera in front of you. It's a little daunting. It seems very easy, and even if you're the most confident person, you will have that moment of self-doubt, of pressure, of general anxiety. And yeah, because I wanted to move to a video format, or at least have certain video podcasts, because it just makes it more interactive, I feel. Another crazy insecurity that I've had for the longest time, and that is a big factor that stands in my way when I'm trying to make content or like just share stuff with the world. Because as I said, oversharing, rather just sharing in general, is something that comes naturally to me, is something that is a very organic part of my communication process. But I have not been able to fully follow that instinct, because I was insecure about the fact that, oh, what if I don't have the nicest setup, or what if I don't have the best equipment? What if, my room doesn't look aesthetic enough? What if I don't have the right lights, the best camera, the best mic, whatever? Like, there are tons of things that come into perspective when you start the whole thinking spiral of what all you don't have. But then I spent some time focusing away from what I don't have and trying to narrow down what I do have. Now, coming to the most interesting part of the episode, the real reason that brought me out of hibernation, and that is my shock and my disbelief towards world as it is today. Because the last month, like starting from mid-March or March end till this past weekend, life has been testing me, testing my patience, my growth, my progress, my ability to separate my ego from reality. But I'm just having the hardest time doing that, because when stuff happens around you, of course, there are hundreds of people on the internet and people around you, including your family at times. They'll tell you that, oh, don't pay attention to it. Oh, just disconnect from it. Oh, just detach yourself from this situation. I just want to ask these people, don't you think I thought of doing that? Like, do you think I want myself to be miserable? Do you think I want myself to be put in a situation where I have to literally meditate in a public place so that I don't lose my mind? So, when it came to dating, so far, my biggest fear, or like one of my biggest fears, was what if this person cheats on me, or what if this person leaves me, or what if this person does something that really hurts me and I'm not able to recover from it. Now, as things change, your fears also kind of evolve as the dating scene also changes and evolves. I won't really call that evolution because evolution generally has a positive connotation, which is not necessarily the word or the kind of description I would use for the current day dating scene. Not positive at all, in any way. Moving from dating, okay, okay, all of that got over. For a while, I was having a bunch of talking stages, and at that point, my biggest fear was what if this person is not being honest with me, or like what if they are also talking to someone behind my back and I'm not aware of it, or what if this person turns out to be like a psychotic person, or just a threat in general. But now, as I grow older, I have a new level of fear unlocked in the dating process. What if this person is married? Or what if this person is engaged to someone? Because that has happened. And I am out of words. Story time. Like coming to the real experience. There is this friend I had. Yeah, can call him a friend, yeah. I've known him for a while, but we recently reconnected after 7-ish years when I was in college. And we hung out. I felt like we really connected on a deeper level because the conversations were quite different than I would have with other people that I was meeting or other people that I was talking to. So, overall, a good feeling. I felt comfortable, I felt safe. And although we lived in different cities, there was always that, you know, conversation going on at the back. So, about a month and a half ago, I was in Delhi and he also lives there. And I was actually looking forward to see this person because, as I said, I felt like we genuinely connected. But for some reason, that whole plan didn't work out and I didn't end up meeting him. Last week, not even last week, a couple of weeks ago, I see him posting stories with some girl. Okay, cool. Now these guys are like taking trips to religious places, and just generally there's a lot of social media posting, and I am genuinely confused. We had been talking for the past year, even if we weren't seeing each other every day. There was that thing. Out of nowhere, it's so serious that you're suddenly posting them every single day. So either you're a love bombing red flag, or you were just playing the whole time. Like, why would you do that? I'm not even in the same city. The second story. The other day, I went to a restaurant with some of my friends, and there was this one really nicely dressed, well looking man. Yeah, old enough to be called a man. And he was standing at the bar. And it was a very nice, essay, filmy sa moment. We made eye contact and like he smiled at me and I smiled back. It was a very sweet moment, which rarely happens in the day and age of online dating. You rarely ever meet someone in person, someone that you actually like or at least are attracted to. We didn't actually talk, but we spent the whole evening just like looking at each other and generally vibing and having a good time. And I felt like maybe should I go and talk to him, because we've been staring at each other for the whole night. Then a third friend joins us later, and then I was just telling him about this guy that, oh, like, do you know him by any chance or whatever. I was just trying my luck if I find out a common person. Turns out that dude is married and has a kid. Why? Just why? I don't have a problem with you being at a bar and just like chilling with your friends, but then don't act like this. It's just very confusing and very misleading for other people. Not to mention, it's extremely disrespectful to the wife and child you actually have already. I want to just disclose a thought that I've had from all of these experiences and just life in general. And it's the fact that there should be a rule for people, not just men or just women, for everyone. That if you are in a serious committed relationship, or if you're engaged, or if you're married, then you shouldn't be following random people, especially people that you were talking to, or especially people that you either met through a dating app or you had the intentions of dating them, but nothing happened. But like now you're with someone else, but you're still following that person. Like, why would you do that? You're not friends with them. They're not a huge part of your lives. So those people are just kind of there and they don't serve any purpose in your life. You're just too passive to actually cut them out from your social media, even though they're not adding anything to your life. And another rule, like this one's actually the most important rule, and this goes again for both men and women, that if you are with someone, or even if you are kinda there, do not like other people's stories. Do not text other people if you're involved with someone else or if you have someone else in your life, because A, that's extremely disrespectful to your partner or your potential to be partner. Second, it's extremely confusing for the person on the receiving end of it. And third, it's not benefiting anyone. Like, you don't get anything by liking my story. So just in the interest of general peace of mind for everyone around you, including your own self, don't do that. Don't like other people's stories. Unless they're your friends, unless you've been friends with them for a while, or unless it's something. Actually, no. Just don't. Unless they're your friends, unless you've been friends with them for a while, nothing excuses interacting with other people's posts, especially people that you were potentially interested in or you were talking to or wanted to date at a certain point of time. It's super pointless. But now, after having such experiences, I realized that love and dating are disconnected. Although it should be like, these two things should be steps in the same process. But for some reason, I feel, maybe it's just my experience, that these two very important things are visibly disconnected, or they don't have the kind of dedication or the kind of loyalty that it requires to make something work. And I don't just mean loyalty to one person, but I mean that kind of loyalty to the whole process. That if you have an expectation or if you have a sort of demand that you should have a loving, healthy relationship, then you should be willing to work for it. You should be willing to have the patience, the faith, the loyalty, and just the dedication to make it work, or at least the dedication to put in the efforts, whether or not it works out. Because the only thing in your hands is what you say and the way you act. And it's absolutely okay if you don't have everything figured out, if you don't have in mind what you exactly want from a relationship, or even if you want one in the first place yourself. But your confusion doesn't give you the right to mislead someone else, to mess with their heads for your own lack of clarity. Like, just because you come from a place of confusion doesn't mean everyone else is like that. But a lot of people feel the need to pass on their confusion to other people because, misery loves company, apparently. And a lot of people go out of their way to make sure that the person in front of them is just as miserable as they are in their own heads. And they don't realize the kind of impact that it has. It's 2024. So I don't think there should be any excuse as to why someone is not aware about what is acceptable when you're dating or in a talking stage also. It shouldn't be a huge guessing game as to what is respectful, what is disrespectful, when am I being problematic, when am I being borderline toxic, when am I being a red flag. All of these questions don't need to be that daunting because we have tons of information around us. So, yeah, that's all for today. This was episode 12 of Thought Vault. I don't have a title. Let's just call it a general catching up. But yeah, thanks for listening. And some things have changed. I now have an Instagram page that is called Thought Vault Podcast. So if you want to reach out to me, if you have any comments, any thoughts, any feedback, feel free to reach out to me via Instagram. This is my first time doing this, so please be very kind and just ignore some mistakes that I might have made because who doesn't make mistakes? I'm only human. I'm gonna go now. Thanks for listening. Bye.